If you're over 40 and you're thinking about whether to start a YouTube channel, or you've already started but are considering giving up, then this video is for you. Something that you have when you're over 40 that maybe younger people don't have as much of is experience. Experience that you can share with others because you've learned some lessons along the way, that you've been able to make mistakes and learn from them, and you've had the chance to hone your craft in whatever subject it is that you want to share on your channel. And you can use that experience and knowledge to help others in a way that wasn't available before we had the internet and particularly YouTube. In this video, I'm going to tell you why that's so important and how you can literally change people's lives and your own by sharing your stories, experiences and insights. How do I know? Because I've been lucky enough to be directly working with this stuff for the last 25 years as a police officer and as a security manager in a huge government department. My latest job was directly about analysing and understanding people's behaviour. So I've studied this for years, and I've been able to experience the impact that our words and actions can have on others over and over again. So I know it's possible because I've done it. And in this video, I'm going to give you some examples and show you how you can apply these ideas and concepts to your YouTube channel. So I want to focus on two types of people who might come across your channel. The first one is the person who seems to be completely lost, without hope or a way out, or the means, situation, or maybe the ability to succeed, or just to get started. These are the hardest people to influence and help, but it's possible, especially with YouTube. It just takes more time, because your message and your words can have a massive impact, probably more so than you actually know. I'm going to tell you how right now. So going back a number of years, when I was a police officer, we had a briefing at the start of our shift, and it was about two missing teenage girls. They were missing from a social services home that they were supposed to be living at. And they were about 14 years old, I think, and they'd been reported missing because they hadn't returned to the place that they were supposed to be at. So we went out doing our normal mobile patrol, and lo and behold, coming up to maybe 12 o'clock at night, we see two teenage girls walking along the seafront. Now that's unusual to see on a weeknight, a school night, and they fitted the description of the two girls. So we pulled over and we got out the car. And as soon as we did, we were met with pure open hostility. Now let's take a moment to pause, and because there's a lesson right there. How do you react to someone who behaves like that towards you? Because on YouTube, this can happen in the comments from time to time. Now it's not common compared to the positive stuff, hopefully, but still it can happen. So what do you do when someone is negative, rude, or even openly hostile? Well, that's not the exact subject of this video, so I don't want to go off topic too much, but maybe that's one of the things that you're worried about if you're starting a channel. Or maybe if you have a channel up and running, you've encountered this already. Well, I would suggest that rather than reacting to that behavior with the same behavior of your own, how about using some empathy and trying to work out why this might be happening and how you can bring that person around? Isn't changing someone's mind and behavior one of the most powerful things that you can do? I think so. And you can do this with your channel. Let me show you how I did it in this situation. So we talked to them, we established that they were the missing girls from our briefing. And so we took them back to the police station in order to find out what we needed to do with them. So my colleague went off to find where they were supposed to be, how we could get them back there, and so on. And of course, at 12 at night, that takes quite some time because everybody's asleep. So I got the job of sitting in a room with them for probably a good 2 hours or so. Now, I could have just sat there in silence or found something else to do and ignored them. And this was before the days of smartphones, so we didn't have that, which in this case was actually a good thing, as you're about to see. So instead I saw it as an opportunity to test my communication skills and see if I could reach them, to see if I could change the way these girls reacted not just to me, but more to the police in general, to challenge their perceptions and maybe change their minds. Because not only would that be good for them, but for any of my colleagues that interacted with them in the future as well. I knew that there was a chance that my words and actions could maybe alter the course of the future in some small way for these two girls. I was going to try at least. So I started a conversation and managed to get them talking. Now, there's two of them, right? One of them was actually very easy to reach. The other one took a little bit more work. This is also something you're going to encounter on YouTube. Some people just need one video from you and that will be all they need to change. Other people need a bit more encouragement, a bit more work, a bit more help to get over their barriers. Now in this situation, I only had around 2 hours and probably it was only this one time as well. So I focused on what I could do in that time. So I talked to them and I got them to open up about all sorts of things, their lives, their experiences, and their situation. And, you know, they asked me about mine and I managed to build a rapport with them. Now, eventually we worked out where they were supposed to be. And so we drove them back. Now that's not the end, but just quickly here, I want to point out that what this experience showed me is that in a very short time, you can have a big impact. Because if you go from someone who's not just uninterested or not engaged, but completely against you, to being able to turn that around and form a positive relationship, isn't that huge? And you don't know where that ends or how far reaching that could be. Now, the great thing about YouTube is that if you're able to reach someone, it doesn't just have to be one time, because once people find you and resonate with your message, they can come back to your channel again and again. And you can interact with them through your content, but also through comments and even beyond in a free Discord group, in a community setting, whatever. Because in my situation with these girls, that was the end of our contact. I would likely never see them again. So isn't that aspect of YouTube huge? Now going back to the story, because there's a key part coming up, the part that showed me I had actually made a difference. It's coming in a second. But this experience stuck with me. I'm not sure why, out of the thousands of interactions I've had with people during my career, that this one did. But I sometimes wonder, how did they do? They were 14 or so. They must be in their early 30s by now. Did they end up receiving the right care, advice, opportunities to make them successful? I don't know. I never will. But the reason it's a great example in relation to your YouTube channel is because you can have an impact on someone's life in a short amount of time. And that impact might be far-reaching, further than you can even see. And the beauty of YouTube is that people can come back to you time and time again to get more help, to get more guidance, and so you can really help to shape things for someone over the long term. It's great, isn't it? So if you've got experience in anything, doesn't matter what it is, you can maybe direct someone onto the path that they need to be on and be able to make a big change in their lives. And the great thing about YouTube is also that you can get feedback on that. You can get somebody to say, thanks, that was really helpful, or that changed my life, or that was a game changer, whatever. So it's a fantastic medium for that, right? So I mentioned at the start of the video that there are some people who need a big change, like these girls, and they probably needed more than I could give in that short time. Now, I like to think I did something to change their mind because I clearly changed their attitude towards me. But I said I was going to tell you how I really knew that. So this is the key part. When we drove them back to where they were supposed to be, it was the early hours of the morning at this point, and one of them actually fell asleep in the car. Now, my colleague drove the car and I sat in the back with them. And the one that fell asleep was sitting in the middle seat. So she could have easily slept on her friend's shoulder, right? But she chose to lay her head on my shoulder. Now she's gone from swearing, calling me names, to sleeping on my shoulder. And I think that's why this experience stuck with me and why you should start or continue with your channel. Partly, I think, I'm sad because I could see that there was unlocked potential in these two girls to succeed in life. I just think they found themselves in a rough situation that was no fault of their own. Did they ever manage to get out of it and be happy? I hope so. What if their circumstances were different? I can't see any reason why they couldn't have succeeded. They just needed someone to commit the time to help them to thrive. On YouTube, for someone, that's you and your channel. So don't underestimate yourself, because you have the ability to do this stuff. Somebody wants to hear the message that you have in exactly the way that you tell it. They actually might need it to change their future. Okay, so I said we'd focus on two types of people. The first one was about people who have the odds stacked against them. Maybe they won't ever start a channel or will give up too early. They might need a lot more work to get them where they want to be. And it might be a really hard struggle for them to do that. But the second type of person I want to talk about is somebody who has the potential and everything else is in place, but they just need a small push maybe in the right direction. A course correction, you might say. And that can come from your unique perspective. Let me tell you about that. When I was working as a security manager, I had a colleague who is now actually a good friend. But at the start of his employment, I was his supervisor, and he'd been there for a few weeks and he was clearly good, had a lot of ability, but he came into the organisation and he pushed really hard pretty much from the start. He made it clear that he wanted to progress. He wanted to be promoted and all this other stuff. But what he didn't or hadn't done, he hadn't found his place in the team. He hadn't listened and observed what was going on around him. What was the team dynamic? How did he fit into that, particularly with his colleagues? By pushing hard at the start, he came across as, to some people, arrogant, which he wasn't, and which wasn't his intention. So I told him, he came and sat down with me once, and he was frustrated about some issue with a colleague. And I listened, and then I told him, I understand what you want to do and where you want to go, and I think you have everything you need to get there. But I think you could consider an alternative approach. Find your place first and change the people's minds around you, so you get them on side, so you have their support. Because if you're going to manage these people and you're going to lead them, you need their respect and their understanding. Show them your value without forcing it on them. Otherwise, you're going to have a really tough job. Now, he could have taken that advice and just said whatever and kept doing what he wanted to do, or the same thing that he was already doing. But he did listen, and it changed everything for him. Now, not everybody will listen to you. That's another aspect of YouTube. You'll be putting your message out, and there'll be a lot of people who don't care. You might see a lack of engagement, particularly at the start, and you might think that you're talking to no one, or worse, people are finding your content and not liking it. But maybe YouTube just hasn't found your audience yet. But if you're discouraged by this, just keep going. In the end, I believe YouTube will find your audience. So don't be discouraged or give up because of this. Take a look at what you're doing, get better, improve absolutely, but keep going. But anyway, as I said, he did listen. My advice resonated, or at least caused him to pause and consider his strategy. And he acted on what I said. And he did end up completely changing how he was perceived. And he did win those people over, some of whom could be considered fairly difficult people. And when he did it, it proved to me that he was able to listen and change and adapt. And he was able to turn things around for himself where others might have not taken any advice and continued to struggle down the same path. That is a strong quality to have, in my opinion. And eventually he did get multiple promotions, and after going as far as was possible in that organisation, he left. And he's doing great now. He has a very successful career, and he openly tells me that he believes the position he's in now is because of me. Now, I don't believe that's the case. What I know is that he had the ability already. He had 95% of what he needed already. I just gave him that 5% change of direction that could get him where he needed to go. Now, if I hadn't come along and done that, He might have worked it out himself in the end, but it might have taken longer. It might have been more difficult. So on your channel, you might have that one little piece that you provide that you don't even think is important, but it could be the thing that changes everything for someone. The entire course of their life potentially. Because I'm a great believer that our choices and actions lead us to the place we are now and will be in the future. So maybe that's all some people need, a small course correction onto the right path that they're already almost on. It's like they're stuck at the starting gate. They've got loads of built up potential and energy and they're raring to go, and they just need you to set them on the right course, and it's your job to open the right gate so they head in the right direction. So anyway, I know from these real experiences and the hundreds of other stories I could probably tell you that if you're thinking of starting a YouTube channel, particularly as a person over 40, you should just do it today. And if you have a channel but are thinking about giving up, don't. Just keep going, because you might be the person who needs that 5% from me to push you towards success. Or there might be someone out there waiting for you to do the same for them. So do you need a big push or just a small change? Or are you now ready to take action after watching this video? Or are you still hesitating? Let me know in the comments below. Now, one last thing. Why am I telling you all of this? Well, because I've also had moments in my life where advice and information I've come across has, I believe, changed the course of my life. One example of this is George Doc Thompson, the author of Verbal Judo and several other books, who sadly passed away in 2011. George Thompson was an academic with a PhD in English literature who taught at university. He then decided that he was going to change career and go out and put his studies on people's behaviour and how to influence people into action by becoming a police officer. And he went out and he used his research in real life scenarios, and then he trained others how to do so. And a big part of that, of course, was creating a structured framework to be able to effectively pass on this information to others. Now, I've been in hundreds, if not thousands, of encounters with people throughout my career, and I'm pretty good at resolving conflict and influencing behaviour in a positive way. But I would say that I was one of those people who was 95% there, and that what I found with George Thompson and Verbal Judo was that other 5%, which really brought everything I already knew into a new focus. Because I knew what worked, and I spent lots of time researching, reflecting, and practicing my skills, trying to get a little better every time. A bit like we do here on our YouTube channels with our videos. But it was that extra 5% that I needed to get to the next level, the elite level, if you like. And when I discovered George Thompson, it was just like the final piece. It gave me a way to express what I already knew and put it into a context so that I could then explain it to other people. It opened up the path for me to mentor people to do what I could already do, but had no idea how to actually teach them to do. And through that, I progressed through my career and had some fantastic opportunities because of it. So not only have I been able to help others throughout my career, but a part of this was due to someone helping me. The way this focused my outlook is what led me to be able to do two things I just talked about in these two stories that I've told you. And George Thompson passed away in 2011 at the age of 69, and I'm still here talking about him today. So he left a legacy that lasts way beyond his lifetime, and that's what your channel can do. Change things for you and others around you for the better, and leave an impact that can last long after you're gone. And remember, some people need a big shift, some people need a small nudge. Your content can do both. I hope all of that has inspired you to get started or keep going. If you've got any thoughts about this, leave them down in the comments for me below, because I'll answer all of them and I will try and help if I can. If you want to know more about some of my experiences and how I got here talking to you on this channel in this video, here's a couple of videos somewhere around on the screen that you can watch next to find out more. Okay, hope to see you again soon. Take care. Thanks for watching.